recommended to accept that offer, which would end the 2-year-long dispute, during which they've taken 18 days of strike action, as well as refusing to work non-contractual overtime. A woman has been jailed for admitting to sending a threatening message on Facebook in the wake of the recent riots and disorder across the UK. 53-year-old Julie Sweeney sent the following Facebook message on the 3rd of August saying, "Don't protect the mosques, blow the mosque up with the adults in it." A judge has encouraged prosecutors to consider charging offenders who played central roles in the recent disorder in parts of the country, a charge that carries a maximum sentence of 10 years. The Australian Department of Foreign Affairs earlier confirmed an 11-year-old girl stabbed in Leicester Square is an Australian tourist. Australian consulate officials in London are offering their support to the girl's family at this time. It has also been reported that the victim, who suffered 8 stab wounds to the face, neck and upper body, will likely require plastic surgery. The Crime Stoppers charity is offering a £5,000 reward to help trace an escaped offender in Suffolk who has a history of sexual offences against children. 33-year-old Daryl Taylor, who's from Ipswich, was charged with 7 sexual offences involving children on Sunday, the 11th of August. He was taken to Ipswich Hospital for treatment afterwards, but escaped from the medical facility around 10 o'clock that evening. Crime Stoppers are urging people not to approach him and to get in touch with them if you might know his whereabouts. The Ministry of Defence says Ukrainian forces will be free to use weapons gifted by the UK as they continue their advances into Russia. Ukraine's top commander has said 100 Russian prisoners of war have been captured in the Kursk region after Ukraine launched a surprise offensive that President Zelensky admitted was easy and met with little resistance. The Russian city of Belgorod declared a state of emergency amid daily Ukrainian shelling that the governor says is destroying homes and killing civilians. And a global health emergency has been declared for monkeypox, the second time in 2 years that the World Health Organization has raised the alert level. It's following an infection outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo that's now spread to neighbouring countries. The virus spreads through close contact, and although it's usually mild, it can be fatal in rare cases. According to an article in the New York Times, since the beginning of this year, the Democratic Republic of Congo alone has reported more than 14,000 Mpox cases and more than 500 deaths. And those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Tatiana Sanchez. Now it's time for Headliners.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello and welcome to Headliners, your first look at Thursday's papers. I'm Cressida Wetton and tonight I'm joined by a voice of reason, the comedian Carey Marks, and the clown who hears voices, it's Lewis Schaefer.
Oh.
How are you both?
I'm the voice of reason. I didn't even know that.
I think you are. I think
really?
You're a very calming influence on this show, Carey.
Oh, hell, I have to change that tonight.
Well, I don't know if we can afford that because we've got Lewis with us.
Well, didn't you just say that people who speak to themselves are smarter than people who don't speak? Didn't
no,
you
I
say
didn't
That's the
say
story we
that.
had yesterday,
It was one
yeah.
of the
Oh, okay.
voices.
You're in the wrong night.
That you just heard. OK, let's have a look at those front pages. The Daily Telegraph leads with career criminals walk free in soft justice scandal. The Times has don't rush in new laws for workers, bosses warn. The Daily Mail has Labour offers train drivers bumper pay deal to end strikes. The Guardian has Ukraine moves deeper into Russia and targets air bases. The Eye has savers hit by interest rate drop, but UK mortgages set to fall to 3.5%. That's good. And finally, the Daily Star, horror of the cold baked beans deviants. And those were your front pages. Beginning with Thursday's Daily Mail, Carey.
You'd like to know what's going on, wouldn't
I would.
you? I'm going to tell you.
I think you should share it with the rest of the press.
This is the train strike that is finally looking like it's coming to an end. It's out of the tunnel and into the light. It's been going on for 2 years. I'm surprised it hasn't been usurped by a bus replacement strike in the same time. And the government has decided to solve it by caving in completely, giving in to its union masters, it seems. Just as I buy a new car, because of all the train strikes, and of course then they go and solve it. Ministers yesterday said they had struck a deal which would see average train drivers' salary, and which I think means the average salary rather than the salary for the average
train
ones who are a bit average, you know. And it's going to go up, it's going to soar, they say, from 60,000 to 69,000.
So that does sound like a lot of money.
Well, it is a lot, and it's likely to put the ticket prices up unless the Treasury will stump up the extra 100 million that it's going to cost. So actually, it is lucky that I bought a car.
Well, do you want to know something? I don't like when you brag to the audience like that.
I bought a car.
Yeah, and some of us do not have cars. And I didn't even realize they were on strike because the service has been so bad. It hasn't really struck me as being diminished. The fact is, they've been raised. It hasn't even been approved yet, so they might reject it because there are people on strike. And
what they'll say is too much.
And 69,000.
We couldn't.
I've lived here for so long. From what I hear, £69,000 is not very much money for a train driver, honestly. And I'm not saying they deserve more, but it isn't really. We live in a poor country now, and that's the point.
I think that's a healthy wage. I'm very impressed at that. I think I'm in the wrong business. So, OK, so now they're going to charge more. So our ticket's going to cost more. But does that mean the trains are now going to run on time, Lewis?
They might run on time. I think when I go to New Cross Gate, there's always, you see that little red little thing on the thing that says bus replacement. You know, you can't get there from New Cross Gate. Should I say? It's
still Britain, isn't it? Things are still going to run as they run in Britain.
In the
no
British
matter what
way.
happens. But what's interesting is they brought this in with no conditions because the Tory party was saying they were going for an 8% increase over 2 years, and now it's have everything, no conditions, no. It was compulsory Sunday working and so on, but that's all off the cards. And there's probably some other parts, but that's as much of the story I read.
But can I add the stuff that I read, which is the fact that the government, the fact that the state is dictating this. I thought they were owned by private companies. I thought it was private companies who would, like Southern Railway and Southeastern or whatever these places, Southwestern Railways. But no, it's
well, the government still has some control over it, doesn't it? They
obviously.
Overall.
But I'd like to find out how much control they have.
Right, well, I'm sure we'll hear more about this. Lewis, what's on the cover of The Times?
Good news, really good. I'm not so sure. OK. This is in The Times, which is owned by Rupert Murdoch's family, I think, still, probably the banks. Don't rush in new laws for workers, bosses warn. And this is a meeting that Angela Rayner, who's the person in charge of speaking to bosses, she's the deputy prime minister, and they're coming out with this law, this new bill where they're going to have 30 new pieces of employment rights. It's called the Employment Rights Bill on September 2nd.
Appropriately named.
The companies are saying, please don't bring this in at the same time. I know you're going to kill us because you're labor and you're destroying this country, but please do not bring this in. And including, can I just list a few of what they are?
Go for it.
The right to switch off your phone if your boss is calling you and saying, hey, we want you to, what happened to the file for headliners? You're able to turn it off. Ban on 0-hour contracts, which I don't understand, but it's not enough. Sick pay for after probation, and parental...
Well, the biggest thing is that it's going to be harder to get rid of people, isn't it? So the argument here is that if you make it more difficult to get rid of people, employers might be a bit slower to recruit you, right? So it's going to slow everything down.
It's called France.
We'll get around it with immigration, but the...
who are more willing to work.
Who won't be asking for all this.
Well, they'd have to be completely off the cards, wouldn't they? Because they can't have a 0-hours contract. That would only work if they weren't in the system.
0 hours sounds great, doesn't it? Until you understand what it is. But otherwise, I do no hours at all. Wonderful. You can imagine, this was at a meeting with business groups. You can imagine all the business leaders with their jaws slowly dropping, aren't they? They say, we're going to let them just do whatever they want, and you're still going to pay them. Look, I think some of it makes sense. I didn't know that new rights on sick pay and rights of unfair dismissal, but I thought that was already there. I don't know what new rights there will be.
There will be some new rights, I guarantee.
There will be some new rights.
These people in this... all they do is think of rights for people that people didn't know, and no obligations.
Well, at the moment, the new Labour government are sort of doing the big giveaway, aren't they? Here we go, train drivers, everybody, whatever you want. And but I don't know. How do you feel about the phone? You can switch your phones. That's what it is, isn't it? The switch.
Well, I just don't. I think the businesses probably know how to run their businesses, and there are times when it's appropriate to text your colleagues at 2 o'clock in the morning, and there are times when it isn't, and it depends on the business. So apparently, 60% of the workforce in the UK falls under this small businesses category.
And
that's a lot of people. Like, government, stay out of it, is my instinct.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing...
You agree with what she just said? You asked her a question.
Yeah, I do agree.
OK, well, tell her you agree. That's how a conversation works.
Well, let me ask you, how do you feel about
thanks
the
very
turning
much,
phones
Lewis.
off?
Let's move on and have a look at The Guardian, Karen.
Don't tell me what to do.
I'm just thinking for the sake of the sake of the show. I think you're more emotionally damaged than I am. I think.
Oh, that's we'll
Not
disprove
before I
that
sat
by the end
next
of the
to
show.
you.
Come on,
I was
Guardian,
fine.
go.
Sorry. Back in order. It's me. Oh, OK. OK, we got Ukraine is moving deeper into Russia with a bold incursion, taking the fight to the enemy. Putin is on the back foot, and this is reinvigorating the war, which is a really unexpected turn of events. And they're taking down drones and Russian aeroplanes and so on. So, any thoughts on that before I move to the other story? Or
no, maybe.
No, come on. We know he wants to get on with the planning story. What's happened at Stonehenge?
Yeah, what it is basically what's happening is we got a war over there. There's a war over there where Team Europe is fighting, which now we're in Team Europe in terms of beating Russia is versus Russia. And this incident that they're doing, they moved in. I mean, I know it's a weird war because they could have moved in sooner. Why did it take them so long? But this is kind of like the Battle of Gettysburg in America, where the South did this last dash thing into...
Do you think it's a last dash or a big turn in the war?
I don't think it's a big turn in the war. It's a sign that they're losing the war. I'll make a prediction. I
think they've caught Putin off guard, personally, and I think it's the last thing they were expecting, and I think it'll be interesting to watch how it develops. Even if they pull out now, they've sent a warning that they're capable of turning things completely
and what
on.
Do you
I heard that he's surrounded by yes men who are like, yeah, mate, it'll all be over in 6 months. And you're like, go on then. And
people, they're perfectly safe, we'll have this done in a while, and now there's an incursion into their country.
Right,
so it's very
it's
hard to keep that narrative going.
And I think this means the war is not going to be over because you're getting Putin very angry, and I think he's a bit scary to me.
He certainly is. OK, finally, let's have a quick look at the Daily Star, Lewis.
Is it OK? The horrors of the cold baked beans deviance. This is at 26%, according to a company. Say that people eat their beans and whatever it is.
Not green ones, Lewis.
Not the green
ones.
Baked beans, and they think that they're horrible people. But the truth is they are horrible because baked beans are incredibly toxic. Do you know if you have to eat cooked beans, and it always pays to cook them twice.
And Heinz, right? It's got to be Heinz.
Whatever it is.
Some of those silly rubbish
well,
ones.
Well, there's a big debate about that. There's a big debate about that.
So there should be.
Do you know that 5 baked beans, crushed, 5 beans, which are not baked, whatever those kind of beans, whatever they're called, if you eat them, you will die.
OK.
I know it's bad for you. The picture on the front, you see the picture of the guy, he's clearly damaged.
Wow, that was an expression I didn't expect to see in 2024. That's the front pages looked at. You can get more dietary advice from Lewis's website. Come back in part 2 when we'll be digging into the latest news about the UK riots, Labour's plan to save £4 billion, and we'll find out how Donald Trump's getting on with his latest legal problems. See you after the break.
Is that against...
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now, in the UK, King Charles called for, quote, community spirit and compassion following the disorder we've seen on the streets in recent weeks. The King's also thanks the police for their efforts to restore peace, as well as the communities who came out to counter the violence. Joining me now is royal and showbiz reporter Kinsey Schofield. What do you make, first of all, of King Charles and sort of intervening, I guess, on the riots? He's got a bit of stick this side of the pond because people are saying, well, look, it's OK for you living in your palaces with all your money coming out your ears. You're out of touch, really, with the working class and the concerns of people in this country about, issues such as migration.
Yeah, I think in today's polarizing society in both of our countries, being a good leader while trying to avoid politics can feel like navigating a minefield. The king is being very careful and strategic in his reaction. He's emphasizing shared goals, focusing on the common objectives and mission of the community. He's trying to align everyone around a shared vision that transcends individual differences, and encouraging transparency and open dialogue by allowing everyone to voice their opinions in immigration concerns in a legal and productive way that doesn't jeopardize anyone's safety. And I think you can create a culture of trust where people feel heard and valued. Aside from his family's multiple cancer scares, this is the most difficult period he's had as king, and he is fully aware that the way he responds to this unrest could define him in the history books. But he's in this bizarre position in the sense that his power is limited. In America, we consider the royal family these beautiful, glamorous mascots. You know, they really, truly are so limited in what they're capable of doing over there. So I imagine that there are some concerns in the background, but he's not really in a position to voice them.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it?
Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained.
I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Cressida Wetton, still joined by Kerry Marks and Lewis Schaefer.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to begin this section with Thursday's Daily Mail and news of participation trophies being given out in Plymouth, Kerry.
Yeah, this is a part of Keir Starmer's plan to put the whole country in jail, one by one. And this story involves a judge who says all rioters must be jailed. And this is an army veteran. His name was Gary Harkness, 51. We always have to know everyone's name, of course. Who didn't, and we were more hearing about what he didn't do than what he did. He didn't hit anyone or throw anything, but he's being locked up for a year. So, and he's been, sorry, I've lost my words. He's been suggested by the judge to be the least involved in the riot, which you would have thought they'd do all the cases first and then come to him finally as the person who did the least. They've really assessed the riots completely at this point, and they've worked out who is the least involved out of everyone. Yeah. But still, they're kind of making an example of people now, and it's a bit concerning, I think. Anybody party to the disorder has to receive a custodial sentence. So that's any part at all. So I'll just read you this bit. The court was told Harkness admitted to being a binge drinker, and was steaming drunk and absolutely annihilated. That's not court talk, is it? He was absolutely annihilated, my lord. And he didn't really know what he was doing. So does that mean he didn't give consent to the riot, I wonder? That would be
I don't believe drunkenness
argument.
is ever a defence, is it, Kerry?
No, he didn't give consent to the
riot. What did he do that was so bad? He went to the riot. Other people were doing bad things, and he was standing there.
Well, he was making a nuisance of himself. He was abusive towards officers.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that against the law? The thing is about this country...
He swore and he waved his arms around.
Yes, and he showed up at the demonstration. So this judge says, I have to give you must be imprisoned. I have to give you an imprisonment. Anybody party to this disorder has to receive a custodial sentence. Why? Was he told that? It's like this country is like... I shouldn't even talk about this because...
Was he told that? It's quite an interesting question.
Was he told
We're bringing laws after the fact, or at least... we're pushing
and somebody else is telling him, saying, OK, when you see these people, you got to put them in jail. He's the judge.
Well, this is on the same day as 53-year-old woman Julie Sweeney's been given 15 months for some comments on Facebook. So she wasn't even at the riots. We were talking about this before the show, bit of sympathy, because this is a woman... I mean, they're not things I would want to say on Facebook. So this is after the mosque had been attacked and people were cleaning it up. And because she saw people cleaning it up, people of all faiths and nationalities in the area, she said, it's absolutely ridiculous. Don't protect the mosque, blow the mosque up with the adults in it. Weird thing to say. And she's now... She deleted it. She's apologised, all of that. But she's now going to prison for that.
And it's totally... Can I say something about this? It's totally... It goes against all justice justice. She was in prison at the time. She was without bail. So she was talking from... They had already assumed she was guilty. They didn't offer her prison. They didn't offer her bail. They could have waited a week or two, 10, whatever it was, but she was in jail, which is a form of intimidation by the authority. We're going to keep you in jail, which is...
To Kerry's point, it's very heads on spikes, isn't it?
I guess it is, yeah. It's
an awful tweet. It's an awful thing she off Facebook, was it? It's an awful thing to write. But I've seen worse almost every day on Facebook and Twitter and where else.
And this poor woman, 53 years old, you saw the picture of her. She's a lovely, lovely lady. And but she has spent last 9 years taking care of her husband at home. She doesn't work. She's probably...
Well, I don't know if I'd be saying lovely lady. As Kerry said, it's not something I would write on Facebook. Right, we're in the Express next. And Lewis, Jess Phillips has regrets over something she said. Can you relate to this?
Yeah, I can. I can relate to Jess Phillips. Or I'll relate to you. Jess Phillips admits she was wrong over Birmingham riot rant that she faces call to resign. And this is, she basically said, she said that it was justified for the Muslims to show up and to fight off the other demonstrators because the reform candidates were basically goading people to do it. But the belief system, and so the reform MPs, I don't know if any Tory MPs, because the Tory party doesn't exist, because they're dead. They've got nothing. They're not fighting for the people or that half of the people or even anybody. So this woman, she's the Home Office. I love the way it's called, the Home Office Minister. It's like the Home Office. I like the Home Office. It's like she's working out of her home. She's got a fax machine on top of a file cabinet.
And then she has to go home from her home office.
She goes into the living room.
20 years here, and Lewis has completely grasped.
He's just figuring it out. He's just going, there's funny names for these things.
Yeah,
so.
Well, that's true.
So, and this is being criticised by some of the Tory contenders at the moment. So, Tom Tugendhat has said when gangs of masked men gathered in Birmingham brandishing weapons and live on camera threatened female journalists and attempted to slash the tyres of broadcast vans. Jess Phillips, a Home Office minister, chose to justify their behaviour instead of condemning it because these were not far-right hooligans but young Muslim men, which is where the two-tier suggestion is coming from, along with a whole lot of other reasons.
Story,
yes, exactly. It's pretty much the obvious. Of course, also one of those demonstrations, a man got attacked by these vigilantes and ended up in hospital. Basically, it's worrying when an MP shows they're all about the vote and trying to get in next time this clearly, which she is, isn't she? She's trying to say she's basically cozying up to a local Muslim vote that got difficult for her at the election. So and she's trying to say all the right things, but it's come back out. I don't think she'll lose her job. I don't think.
Well, that's
I don't think
there are
calls
for her to stand down, of course, because there's always calls for people to stand down.
She's not going to lose her job over this. She may lose her job, but I'm telling you, the Labour is basically going to be screwed because in certain communities where they're not going to be able. I've been told over the telephone that judges have minimal sentencing requirements. And that I am rambling sometimes.
Who are you checking your information with here?
That's my son.
Your son?
Your son, our fact checker.
My university.
OK, let's have a look at The Guardian now. Yeah. The former Chief Inspector of Prisons says more prison places are not the answer to overcrowding in prisons. So explain that to us, Kerry.
OK, this is the former Chief Inspector of Prisons, Nick Hardwick, who says money would be better spent preventing crimes because Labour are being urged to scrap the $4 billion. He's urging them to scrap the $4 billion Tory mega jails. Mega jails sound amazing, don't they? Super prisons is what they've been talking about.
I don't think they sound super. I think they sound horrible. I don't think anybody wants to live near one.
Oh, I thought they were like a superhero of prisons. No,
well, if you watch the Louis Theroux thing, they're quite scary.
Are they? I have watched
these places.
Right, you can tell us about that in a second. But he's basically saying there's going to be a huge expansion of prison system will not solve the problem, especially because we're 99% full and one more riot will be overflow. And he says, this is his point, he says, if you think of it like a bath, which, by the way, I don't. I've never thought of prison like a bath. Otherwise, I would be a criminal. I'd be like, oh, if I rob from that shop, I'm going to get a bath. That's nice. He says, imagine the bath is overflowing and the water is still coming in. So what do? The water is still coming in. You get a bigger bath, right?
Apparently.
Yes, of course, you get a bigger bath.
Or maybe you don't get a bigger... Right.
Well, he's saying...
You actually maybe adjust the...
he's saying
they've been bailing out the bath.
But
that's going to, fail, so it doesn't solve the problem. The system is set to continue to increase. So what do? You get a bigger bath, right? But he's saying no. What you do is you rehabilitation, re-education, and so on, which I get. I think that's, to try and stop crime in the first place makes sense. But haven't we been doing that for years?
And in this country, there are 89,000 or maybe 100,000 people in prison. In America, there are like 2 million, and the population is only like 3 times.
Yeah, America.
They're bad people in America. So this is a typical thing for Labour to say we've got to stop people from preventing crime. They have no clue because they actually think lack of money causes crime, and they love, and criminals vote Labour. I hate to say it.
I'm sure.
Am I allowed to say that?
I'm sure poverty contributes, but we've been doing education for a long time, and knife crime's going up in the capital. And what we can do, educate people and say stabbing people is bad. They don't like it.
Yeah.
And everyone goes, I won't do it then.
We've got to move on. The Express next. Lewis, should Starmer in the EU just get a room?
Well, basically, because Team Europe is Team Starmer. He was always in favour of this. I mean, initially, the Labour Party wasn't the pro...
Read the headline, Lewis. Go on.
OK, sorry, thank you. No one's ever told me that. You're the first person to tell me that, anyway. Labour actively exploring rejoining $9 billion EU scheme, Secretary of State reveals. So it sounds like they're going back into Europe, but it's just all the science things which it pays for us to relate to them. We could have related to them. We didn't need to be in Europe to be part of their science programs. And that's what this is. It's the Galileo satellite program. And because everybody likes spaceships, so this is where they're starting.
Yes.
Yeah, am I right?
You're absolutely right.
What do you think?
What do I think?
Positive...
I think we're all aware or looking for the inching back to Europe. But I'd say this is different.
Are we all that?
No,
I think we're watching out for whether that's what they're going to do.
It's not going to happen. But tells me it might.
This is Peter Carl, who's a Labour frontbencher. And I don't know, I kind of think this is more about cooperation with a quite pragmatic thing with such things as space science and so on. I don't think this is rocket science. I think it's just something that makes sense, really. We need space projects, if only to find somewhere else to build more prisons. I think that's going on. I think this makes sense, doesn't it? Apparently, what I learned from this is we have a geographical advantage here over the rest of the continent of Europe because we're able to do vertical takeoffs.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
I didn't know that.
I haven't been watching the Olympics at all. OK,
I'm
really excited about that.
Squeeze one more in before the break. Trump's still not having any luck, is he? So what's happening to Trump at the moment, Kevin?
He's lost his third bid for the judge, which is Juan Merchan. Merchan. You didn't
he's from Colombia. He's from Juan.
OK.
Yeah, Juan Merchan.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Who's the judge to step aside in the hush money case. This is all about weathering the effect of paying off Stormy Daniels. And I went with a pun there. And so this is now, I think, the third time that... what's going on is Trump and his lawyers are trying to delay this case, really, until he can become president and get the judge's head taken off.
Well, he would say that it's not an appropriate judge, right? Because the judge's daughter has paid money to a campaign for the other side, for the Democrats. Now, of course, you can't necessarily assume that whoever your dad votes for is who you're going to vote for, but it does seem a bit close for comfort, doesn't it?
Exactly right. The daughter worked for the Harris campaign and is also working for other Democratic things. And the truth is, this is an Alvin Bragg New York story. I live in New York. There's lots of...
Don't.
I used to live in New York. And did I say... I don't know. I forgot where I was living. That's so funny.
You've got me with saying.
Sorry, I stopped the flow. Come on, we've got to get to the break.
No, then we're going to be... If you're rushing the stories, and a few of the stories at the end I haven't read.
Just tell us.
I'm just warning you in advance.
Tell us then.
I'm saying they're trying to get Trump. It didn't work in the 3 other ones. It's not working now. This thing is irrelevant to the election because the teams are now so isolated. People will vote for a plastic bag if they, you know what I mean. They don't care about Trump and they don't care
As
about...
always, hot take from Lewis. We've made it to the end of part 2. Come back for part 3 when we'll be finding out about Imane Khelif's latest big rumble, an academic apology, and the end of book festival. See you in 2.
Good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Tomorrow is looking pretty wet across northern areas. Across the south, though, it should stay mostly dry, but it's going to be a breezier day than today. That's because low pressure is moving in from the north and west overnight tonight, bringing with it a weather front that's going to stick around for a few days, particularly across the northwest, moving into the southeast later. So through this evening, that cloud will eventually clear the far south and east, leaving a dry and fine night for many areas of England and Wales. But that wet weather will spread across Northern Ireland, much of Scotland, and the temperatures here will pick up into the mid-teens overnight. So certainly a much milder night for these areas compared to last night. A fresher night, though, to come for many areas of England and parts of Wales. And it will be a fairly bright start to the day. More in the way of sunshine to come for southern areas of England first thing tomorrow. Across the west, though, where we're closer to that weather front, we could see some rain, particularly across parts of Wales. But the heaviest rain through Thursday, particularly in the morning, is going to be across western areas of Scotland, moving into northwestern England. Some outbreaks of rain also across eastern areas of Scotland. But the far north and west of Scotland already getting into that clearer weather as that weather front does clear to the south and east, or move to the south and east through Thursday, pushing into Wales, bringing some more heavier rain for Wales through Thursday afternoon. As I said, many southern areas of England should stay dry through much of the day, central areas too, but there is going to be more of a breeze around tomorrow. Despite that breeze, temperatures still climbing towards the mid-20s, but a much fresher feel arriving into the northwest. Now that rain will push into the south and east through Thursday night, could linger across the far south through Friday morning, but once it clears away, a day of sunny spells and fairly light winds as well on Friday, so it will be feeling much warmer. And there's more of that to come for the weekend. Sunny skies for most of us, sunny spells at least, temperatures around the high teens and the low 20s. Bye-bye.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners, opening this section with The Sun, and this time Imane Khelif has chosen two massive opponents, Lewis.
And I stopped washing my hair. Okay, and this is... No, but that's true. Imane Khelif, quote, names Elon Musk and J.K. Rowling in cyberbullying lawsuit, and lawyer vows Trump's tweets will be probed too. It's this dude, the dude who is the boxer, who is a girl. Can I go like that without causing offense? We don't know what we can say.
Well, leave us guessing what you think.
Yeah, what? Yeah, that's not what it means.
It's not a trans story. We've been making that very clear. This isn't somebody that decided to transition.
We don't know that.
We don't know that?
We don't know that. It might be. It doesn't sound like it's a trans story, but this girl, I would say guy, this girl was boxing, and then they said, hey, and she beat somebody down quite badly, that people thought maybe she's not really a girl, and you look at her, and she doesn't look that girly, but I like it. And, sorry, don't...
Too much.
Was that too much?
Show's style is changing so dramatically.
I know. Well, you said make it lively tonight, and I've been in such a bad mood. I'm trying to
You're over-lively.
I'm over-lively.
There's been a backlash.
So there's been a backlash because we don't know what the true story is. Is she this XY, XX mix of a girl? Does she have XY, which is boy hormones or genes? Is she born a boy, but the But
in any case, she's got a physical advantage.
And people have said that she's a trans person in the beginning, and she's going to be suing them for saying she's trans because it's against the law to be trans in Algeria, I believe. And the Algerian belief system is what you people are buying into. The people, not you, not people who watch this channel, but the people who support whatever. I can't say it.
That was clear. What do you think, Harry?
From what I understand of it all, and I'm not fascinated by it, I've read bits of it. I think there's some parts of this that's pretty interesting, is that she has, I believe she's lived her life as a woman. So it's not a trans story, but she was born intersex, which, if you know what that is, that's something I am. I'm very much intersex. Are you intersex? Anyway, she was born intersex, and which meant sort of damaged genitals and so on, and so she was designated. Oddly, this story is written, I don't know who's written the story, it doesn't say here, but it's very much an opinion piece. I don't know if you looked through it, but...
Yes, I did.
It's certainly taking the side. The Algerian was born female, but she was as far as I understand it, designated female, which is a little bit different. And so she's suing Rowling. I think this is going to be quite an interesting case because this really is at the heart of nature v nurture, because we're just talking about the chromosomes here. So whilst we know nurture has some kind of effect, you can live your entire life as a woman, but if you're born with XY chromosomes, then nature has been doing this for 100,000 years and knows what it's doing. And clearly, all tests have shown that schoolboys have more strength than adult females, who even if they've trained. So there is a massive disparity. If J.K. Rowling is wrong, then she is humiliating and shaming a woman. If she is right, then a man is publicly punching women in the face and getting away with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Indeed.
So I think it's going to be a
Which
case
we
worth
support
following. I don't
either
think
way,
it's
right?
the case.
That's a joke.
Moving on now. We're in the Times and we've got news of an academic institution expelling a former criminal defence specialist without due process. How did that work out for them, Gail?
Yeah.
Not very well. And it's just sort of a follow-on story, isn't it? He's called James Esses. He's only one person, although he sounds like several people because of all the S's. Never mind.
Be funny. Never mind. This show's a comedy show.
OK, so I can do things like that. I think we're in a really serious state if you get banned from a school for asking questions, which is what happened. He raised questions about gender ideology, and as a result, they said, not having that, you're out.
Yeah.
We have a point of view, and there's only one point of view, and you must stick to it.
It was very sudden, wasn't it? There was no kind of process. He was just received his email saying, end of contract, you're out.
You've said the thing, you know. You've said the thing. The thing must not be said, not ever.
Because this is a transitory time right now. In the future, this will never happen. That guy would never have gotten a job in the place. He would have been vetted beforehand. He would have been told, you say anything out of line, we're going to fire you. But this was before he was told.
This is in the Team World Lewis mega dream of the future. Everyone's got Neuralink. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah,
basically. It's nothing that's happened
up
yet.
until the time that they're destroyed. What's happened is the guy sued and he's getting some money, but he's probably still not going to get his job back.
I think they reached agreement and they've apologised to him so I think things are changing.
Yeah.
They accepted that they breached their own policies by expelling him without due process and contributed to him receiving online abuse. So we're coming back to something more reasonable than the burn anyone who disagrees.
No, it is actually worse, because the next guy who's going to be at this institute is going to know not to say anything, because he's going to be out. They just apologized because we didn't tell you we were going to do this. That's all they're apologizing for. They think they're perfectly right, Carrie.
OK, I think it might go the other way. I think the next person who comes in will realise that this case has happened and that they can't throw him out this time.
Yeah, I would like to think this is a bit of a game, but we will see.
I think so.
Lewis, we're in the Telegraph next, and diverse and inclusive Walthamstow is rejecting a new business opening because its owner is, and I quote, very different to the people here.
Yeah, well, I don't believe this story. Gail's Bakery revolt. East Londoners reject investors' right-wing views. And this is, they want to put a Gail's, which is a fancy place that my ex-wife goes to buy her cakes. And sometimes people go, here, we have one right down the road. I can't eat there because it's all carbs. And I don't care whether it's fancy or not.
Well, it's posh carbs.
It's posh carbs, maybe if you have it occasionally. This guy, his name is Luke, whatever. They don't want a Gail's in in their town because it's a mass shop now. And this is how you know that your shop is doing really well, when they don't want you in the town. And then what they're using is they're using the excuse. The local people are saying, we don't like the owner because the owner's right-wing. But of course the owner of Gail's was going to be right-wing. You know what I mean? They're not left-wing until they're super, super successful. All new businesses are right. I don't know if this is true. I think it is true.
Kerry, do you think all businesses are far right if they're successful?
No, absolutely.
In the beginning.
In the beginning.
You don't ask him.
No.
Look at...
No, definitely not. No, there's, you find amongst small businesses a lot of generosity and people who care about helping other people form businesses and so on.
No, it's not. They're not. They're fighting for their life.
They're all the most nice people in the world. I don't know what I'm talking about. How does he do this? How does he track these stories in places that they're not supposed to be?
You know where you are and you know what day it is, and by the end you don't know if time exists.
I know.
Yes, I know. What planet are we on? What day is it? All I know is this is a local shop business that I will be supporting now. Because you know what this is?
No, it's a big business. Gail's is a
yes,
big
I know,
chain.
but I mean, I've got a local one. This is like you see on those local Facebook forums, isn't it, where people are writing and going, oh, I'm so disgusted, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
And you're just policing your area, because some of these people in their local area have got nothing else to do all day but to decide whether a shop should exist or not. So what's happening is the bakery anger is rising, and they want to force independent cafes out, although they'll force independent cafes out of business, there's a picture of two baguettes forming a crossover Gail's logo. They're really showing them, aren't they? Really teaching them a lesson.
It's actually an important issue because there's lots of these independent shops, and we like independent. I never go to an independent.
But what's also behind this, though, is it was founded by an Israeli baker, and they've mixed up baker with banker. So
and he clearly says we've just had this big, diverse counter-protest to protect Walthamstow from the far right, and I doubt Luke Johnson would support that. So he's speculating about his politics.
That should follow with a grrr, shouldn't
That's
it?
Let me just say this, that my son online says Gail's is amazing.
Well, there you go.
So
It's a fact. Kerry, we're in The Independent next, and Sadiq Khan's endless campaign of anti-sexual assault adverts on the tube is bearing fruit.
Oh, has there been adverts?
Have you not seen the adverts?
I don't watch television.
No, on the tube.
On the tube. I haven't been on the tube for a while. Did I tell you I bought a car?
Read the headline.
I mean, it was a while ago. OK, the headlines. Shocking spike in violent crimes against women on British trains. So there's been a big figures show over a third of women experience sexual harassment or sexual offence while commuting. And it says, despite all the adverts on the trains that you've seen.
Yeah, I've seen them. And I don't know if it's despite. I think it might be because of. Because I think...
Describe it.
Yes. Well, they usually say things like they're in your eye line and they say things like, no pressing. Now, I've lived in London for 10 years. I've never been pressed. I've never witnessed a pressing. I'm not really sure I know what it is. But there's a lot of that. There's a lot of... don't eye people staring. There's a lot of that. So what I'm saying is there's a lot of encouragement that if you see something that might be sexual assault, you're very much encouraged to report it. That's not to say it's not happening, but there must be some I mean, if you advertise things, you would expect that advertising to pay off.
It suddenly becomes a crime. In some of these countries around the world, that isn't even a crime. And this is the interesting thing. It's fantastic that you said that, because it was explained to me, and as a man, and I'm a man, is that men don't really understand what those posters were. I thought to myself, same thing you did. I said, what guy is going to see this and say, I'm not going to do that because there's a poster? But it's not for that. It's for women to make a complaint, to feel good about making a complaint about it, like to press charges or something.
To encourage them to.
To encourage them to. But at the same time, that the numbers have gone up like 50% or more from 2021, which was, I think, a very slow year for
We don't know whether there's more men doing it or whether there's more, or the same men are just busier.
Yeah, well, but yeah,
it could be one bloke.
Well,
for all we know. I mean, we don't know.
But it was COVID time. I didn't make my point clear enough. It was COVID time.
Okay.
COVID time.
Just the final section to go. Join us in the next section for the return of a salacious publication, news about women's brains, and some surprising information about ageing. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and this is GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Well, we're joined this morning by the broadcaster Paula London, who thinks we shouldn't allow flexible working, and the founder of Real Mums Club, Chrissy Powell, who thinks that it is an absolutely brilliant idea. Let's start with you, Chrissy, because nobody is suggesting for a minute, are they, that being a parent isn't a job?
Parenting a job itself, but I think flexible working, where it really comes into play, is it provides a gateway for those parents that currently cannot work. It provides them a gateway into the working world. I think it's a fantastic idea, and I think every single employer should look into that as an option.
It's a fantastic idea, Chrissy, unless you're an employer. I would have thought you can't get people through sickness, through holiday, through when they want to work and when they don't want to work. Why even bother thinking about working? Why not just get paid for sitting at home doing nothing?
Because flexibility isn't just about term time only contracts. I myself, as a working mum, having a flexible employer, it means that I can still continue my work duties when children are ill. Recently, my daughter had a huge allergic reaction. It resulted into an A&E trip. If that wasn't a flexible employee, it would mean I'd have to have time off. Whether that's paid or unpaid, it can be detrimental to the employer and the employee. So by allowing me to work from home and offering more flexibility, employers offer different time scales. So it doesn't always mean that you have to work a 9 to 5 anymore. It might mean that you're best suited to work later on in the evening and pick up your work that way. I just think it's fantastic.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Weekdays on GB News. Wake up to breakfast every day from 6 a.m. Followed by Britain's newsroom at 9:30. At noon, it's Good Afternoon Britain. Followed by Martin Daubney from 3 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the final section of Headliners. Shocking news in The Independent now. Men are going to have access to erotic images of women. Where on earth will they find them in the age of the internet?
Oh, my. Well, Playboy magazine is coming back. Hooray! Sorry, that's the wrong reaction, wasn't it? I meant, oh, dear.
You're supposed to do the Harold Bishop chin wobble. I can't believe it. What?
Oh, you're good at that.
Yeah, I've discussed it a lot.
You've been practising it. And this article is written by an angry feminist, I think it's fair to say. Would you say that?
Yeah.
Just when you thought things might be improving for women, this week sees another swift uppercut to the face of feminism, with reports heralding the relaunch of Playboy magazine next February. Does she know what's on the internet? I mean, this is now... Playboy coming back is so mild compared to what's readily available everywhere. Obviously, pornography is exploitative. It makes men abuse themselves, so that's very wrong. But that's what I find. Stop making us do that. I kind of think it's going to be nice for people who miss the old days of the magazine. I didn't even know people really read magazines anymore.
Yeah.
But, you know, when I grew up, of course, it was you reach a certain age and coming of age was going into a shop and trying to buy a magazine and then going up to the man at the counter who suddenly gets replaced by his angry wife.
Yeah.
Who stares you down.
Right, and sees you for what you really are, a horrible person. We know it's horrible. Not that
Do we know
it's just a one-off, isn't it, Liz? They're coming back. I don't know, people like kitsch things, don't they? They like retro.
It's a one-off thing.
Yes.
Oh, you're right, Cressida, because it's a one-off. It's not really a magazine. I think magazines have to be at least monthly or something. One-off is an annual. And this is women. You're totally right about that. They're just sitting there complaining that it's calling a misogyny, that men want to look at women. I mean, you should be grateful that men want to look at you.
You always go too far, don't
Was
you?
that too
I'm not
far?
a fan. I don't think it's... I mean, yeah, it's probably gross. I think Hugh Hefner was probably... Ugh. But it seems a strange thing to get upset about, given everything else that's available.
Well, especially you can just look at pop stars now and they're taking everything off anyway. You don't need to get this kind of soft porn, do you? And really, it's we're in the age of OnlyFans and so on, where people are doing it themselves and making money out of it. So, yeah sure. I mean, we should do things to stop the exploitation of the porn industry. It's awful. It is really awful. But at the same time, it's another example of how powerful biology is. Men want to see women.
Yeah, and women want to show themselves to...
Yeah, again, always goes too far. Stunning news from the Daily Mail now. This one's about women and emotion, Lewis, so we've given it to you.
Well, this is... your period really does spark changes in your brain that lead to mood swings, the study shows. I didn't read this. Because I'm not interested. It's about women. I mean, I've lived... Is that bad to say?
It's horrendous to say. You should be interested in this because it's telling you why we are the way we are.
Do you want to know something? It doesn't matter why you are the way you are. It just matters that you are the way you are, and you're absolutely horrible and unfit to be around men. I hate to say it.
What they have found out is that the period really does spark changes in the brain that leads to mood swings. So basically what the scientists have now discovered is what women have known for the whole of history.
Yeah.
And men have realised it pretty much as well. So there's parts of the brain that get more active to assessing emotional changes of things and wanting more chocolate. I added that bit, I don't know. Look, honestly, why would anyone want to be a woman? Why do you do it? I don't get it.
That is a great question.
No, I have an answer to
The
that.
Guardian. Look, I aged a lot between the years of 0 and 12, but apparently that's a bit early, Kerry.
Well, scientists find that humans age dramatically, but in 2 bursts. This is quite odd and interesting. So they've got it very specific at 44, and so rather than you're constantly aging, which you are, but there's 2 major bursts that happen at 44 and 60. I remember mine happening at 46 because I was a late developer. So if you've noticed a sudden accumulation of wrinkles, yes, aches, yes, pains, yes, or a general sensation of having grown older almost overnight, yes, then there is a scientific explanation, which is that you do this thing of just sort of leaping a few years, which has happened to me. A new wrinkle actually woke me up the other day. It was so violent. I woke up and go, oh yeah, it was tiny, but I felt it.
Yeah, but this is one of those studies. It's so inadequate in the amount of research that was done for it. It could be anything. I think people want to know what it is that makes you look old or feel old or have all these things, and it's called sugar, carbohydrates, not eating it all.
I knew you were going to bring up the sugar at some point.
Totally, because you know what? I had a huge aging thing when I was about 58 years old. I'm 67 years old now, and now I feel amazing. So what the hell happened?
Don't you look amazing?
If you leave it long enough.
Lewis, we've got time for one more story. This is in the Times. It's about a romantic gesture. Have you ever done anything like this?
I have never done anything like this. I haven't bought my ex-girlfriend a birthday present.
Tell us what it is first, because we don't even know what you're talking about.
Mark Zuckerberg, you're being like her. This is like...
You've got 30 seconds. Get on with it.
Mark Zuckerberg, who's the Facebook Meta guy, unveiled a sculpture of his wife in the Roman tradition. It's a statue.
Oh, look, we've got an image of it.
It's a statue of his wife.
Oh, she's beautiful.
Yeah, she's beautiful. Actually, it's not. It's not.
I imagine you wanted to have her with her arms folded, sort of staring in. Men go in the garden to get away from the wife.
Yeah, and you know what it is? I remember going to a flower shop.
The show is nearly
and it's like, how mad is she? That's
I'm sorry, Lewis, you've got a quick look. Let's have another quick look at Thursday's front pages. So the Daily Telegraph has career criminals walk free in soft justice scandal. The Times has don't rush in new laws for workers, bosses warn. The Daily Mail has Labour offers train drivers bumper pay deal to end strikes. The Guardian has Ukraine moves deeper into Russia and targets air bases. The Eye has savers hit by interest rate drop, but UK mortgages set to fall to 3.5%. And finally, the Daily Star, horror of the cold baked beans deviants. Those are your front pages. That's it for tonight's show. Thank you to Kerry and Lewis. Andrew Doyle will be here tomorrow. And if you're watching at 11 p.m, stay tuned for breakfast.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good evening. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Tomorrow is looking pretty wet across northern areas. Across the south, though, it should stay mostly dry, but it's going to be a